Hello, everyone. Good evening. Bonjour, bonjour, and tanche. We're very, very excited to be here tonight with you live on YouTube and on our YouTube channel. We are broadcasting tonight from our homes in and around all across, actually in different places across Canada, here in Sudbury, Ontario, of course, and as well coming from Winnipeg, Manitoba. We have some great Sci poetry that we have for you this evening. This is our annual Sci poetry event in conjunction with the SciArt show that we've been doing with Science North and Laurentian University for almost 10 years now. The SciArt show at Laurentian has been going on, and we're very, very excited to partner with Laurentian today. Just to give you kind of an idea, this science art show has been an amazing adventure, not only showcasing beautiful art pieces, whether it's visual arts, dance, music for many, many years, but also poetry. And that's what we're here to celebrate tonight. But it's, of course, very, very, very important that we also take a look at where we are. So I'm here in the greater city of Sudbury, where we have both Science North, Dynamic Earth, and Laurentian University that are all situated on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Tikamek and Anishinaabe, and as well as Wanapitei First Nation in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory. We also have Thunder Bay operations in Northern Ontario that Science North operates, which are also situated on the traditional and ancestral lands of Fort William First Nation in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory. We give thanks to the Indigenous peoples who have cared for this land since time immemorial and pay respect to their traditions, their ways of knowing, and we acknowledge their many contributions to innovations in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and of course tonight, art, both past and present. We also recognize the Métis Nation of Ontario for their historic and ongoing contributions. We commit to deepening engagement, relationships, and partnerships in order to advance truth and reconciliation, honor and reflect Indigenous ways of knowing, grow economic opportunities, and collaborate with Indigenous peoples as partners in order to inspire all people to be engaged in science in the world around them. So this amazing art show is just one of the great things that we love to do of combining art and science. And of course, we can't do it without wonderful partners and community leaders that help us bring this along and of course, inspire us to do great work. And so I'm going to introduce to you tonight your host. Your host for this evening will be Dr. Thomas Merritt from Laurentian University. We're very excited because, of course, he for many years has been operating this this art show in conjunction with Laurentian. Hi, Dr. Merritt. How are you?
I'm well, Amy. How are you?
I am really great. So I'm going to let you take over as hosting opportunities, Thomas, for tonight. I'm going to be here, of course, working in the background, getting all the technical stuff off the road. But I know I'm leaving everybody with you in great hands. And let's hear some really great poetry this evening.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for warming us up and leading us in. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is the 10th year that we have had the Laurentian SciArt show. I think this is the 5th year that we've had the poetry show, and we've had amazing partners throughout. As we wrap up the evening, I'm going to try to thank people for their contributions. I'm not going to get everybody. It's an overwhelming list of incredible people that have made this happen. We are in for a real treat this evening. We've got 4 poets that are reading for us, 2 young poets that have submitted poems to the poetry contest, Vera Constantino, sorry, Vera, who is our past poet laureate, and then Ariel Gordon, who's joining us from Winnipeg. And I think we're all really looking forward to that poetry. The strength of the poetry contest are the collaborations, and the Sulphur magazine for the English department at Laurentian University has been a wonderful partner for the past couple of years and publishes the winning poems. And we thank them for their support. Dr. Sylvia Hunt and Ernst Gerhardt have been a huge part of that success, as well as the editor, Laurie Morin. I want to also thank the judges for this year's contest, Nancy Doust, who organized the contest and was one of the judges. Nancy has been absolutely invaluable to the poetry contest, the science poetry contest, for the last couple of years. And then we had judging from Chloe Ladechaise and Evan J., 2 poets that are based here in Ontario. Chloe is here in the Sudbury area, and they were fantastic to give their time to judging. With that, I want to go right into the poets. Our first poet is Aiden Ngoa, and she's going to be introduced by our keynote for this evening, Ariel Gordon. So Ariel, if you will give that introduction, that would be lovely. Unless we lost Amy. We may have lost Amy. We've got her back. Ariel, you're on.
Greetings. All right. Gagnant de l'élémentaire français. Aiden Ngoa pour son poème Jolie fleur. Aiden est un élève de 4e année à Saint-Joseph. Voici ce que les juges ont dit de son poème. Il reconnaît et célèbre les avantages de vivre près de la nature. Dans ce cas, les fleurs, car cela affecte positivement notre humeur et notre bien-être. Le poète fait appel à nos sens et en décrivant l'odeur, la texture et l'aspect de la fleur, ce qui est une façon intelligente d'aborder un sujet poétique. Avec le printemps qui arrive à grands pas, ce poème est sur le point de fleurir. Merci.
Jolie fleur comme un cœur, qui sent bon comme un bonbon. La belle santé nous donne une belle humeur. Et tu remplis mon cœur de fleurs mais pas de peur. Un énorme bouquet de fleurs pour le bonheur. Les sentiers, c'est mon avenir et mes souvenirs. Un paradis de fleurs en couleur. Ces pétales gardent mes promesses avec sa tendresse. Belle fleur, tu as une valeur et une douceur. Même des fleurs font des erreurs. Je peux te mettre sur ma tête quand c'est ma fête. Souvent la pluie vient la nuit pour t'arroser. Jolie fleur comme un cœur, vos odeurs est une belle humeur.
Merci, c'était très bien, très belle.
All right, thank you. Aiden, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm a little tongue-tied. That was just amazing. That was fantastic. Ariel, thank you for introducing the poem as well. Our next poet is Lauren Coffin. She's going to read for us her poem, Field Notes on Sulfur Rocks. Lauren is a grade 12 student at École Secondaire Catholique Horizon. We had to throw French in there. Lauren, thank you so much for submitting your poem to the contest. The judges had some wonderful things to say about your poem, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste of their feedback before I ask you to read. They were really impressed that you, the poet, used clever literary devices to bring life to well-known Sudbury images and things that might otherwise be cliched. Your poem plays with time, movement, and energy in a beautiful way, and we're all really looking forward to hearing you read. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you. My city is anachronistic. Everywhere I look, I see marks left over billions of years. Under my feet are banded rocks formed by upheavals on the seafloor. Movement disturbed the peaceful waters, and as the murky clouds settled, layers of mud and silt solidified to create stone. The city found itself south of the equator. Here, a meteorite struck my stage and released a shockwave. The minerals themselves were rearranged at my feet. The shift of the tectonic plates brought this landmark to northern Ontario. Slowly, imperceptible millimeters of movement became miles. When the freeze came, a sheet of ice carved at and whittled the landscape. I now see the scars left behind by its frigid trajectory. Once the thaw was complete, the mine was afoot, excavation attracting hundreds, thousands, my own family to this land. But the demon in the copper had to be removed. Bonded with sulfur, it had to burn. As the elements heated, toxic gases were unleashed. The rocks, my rocks, reacted and were stained black. The landscape was devoid of life. Others left their traces then, a community banding together to rehabilitate what they loved. Liming, fertilizing, planting, regreening, making the area a source of pride, renown, and restoring its glory. I see their marks.
Lauren, thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much. I think that we could all agree that poetry is in good hands in Sudbury. Thank you to both of our young poets for joining us this evening. Those are really beautiful poems. We're going to go in to our next poet for this evening. So Vera Constantino was the 6th poet laureate for Greater Sudbury. Vera writes in haiku and verse poetry. She writes short fiction and creative nonfiction. She's a member and past president of the Sudbury Writers Guild, a member of Haiku Canada and Canadian Authors Association. Vera's work has been published internationally. In March of 2020, Vera was appointed Poet Laureate at the City of Greater Sudbury. Her tenure as Poet Laureate has just ended, and she has recently signed with Sudbury publisher Latitude 46. Vera will have a book of haiku, I think, published in 2023. Vera, thank you so much for joining us this evening and agreeing to read. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Thomas. It's Haibun, and I'm happy to be here. I like the SciArt poetry invitation every year, and I look forward to hearing Ariel Gordon, and congratulations to the winners of the contest. They were fabulous. I guess you could say I'm a science buff. I'm a huge fan of weather, and I follow Environment Canada and I follow the Weather Network because I like to know what I'm in for before I go outside. And, you know, in one of the harsh years, about 10 years ago, I read something that Canadians shouldn't talk about the weather because it was bringing people down. But I think as Canadians, if we didn't talk about the weather, we might not have anything to talk about. And as a haiku poet, weather is very important to me. And the poetry I'm going to read you tonight is on the theme of weather. And I will read a few haiku for you now. Variations on a familiar theme, winter weather. Wind chill values, always the unwanted guest at my birthday. Arctic outflow, from the spare room, a snore. Morning fog, up there somewhere, a day moon. Strong sun all day, still holding the line, snowbanks. Into the silence of the walking trail, breaking wind. Promised downpour, 8 full minutes early. Oh well, wet walkers. And that is haiku, weather related. I'm hopeful for nice weather to come, but I still feel like I have a strong winter connection. There's still snow outside. And I have a poem called December Night that I will read to you now. It starts with one small snowflake, then in silent, soft abandon, hundreds of thousands float to the ground. I catch a feast of this cold, wet wonder on my tongue. And when I've had my fill, I pause to look at rooftops dusted white, a wondrous and beautiful sight in Sudbury on this December night. I am happy that December is past, but, you know, it'll come again and it will bring snow. I have yet another weather poem. I warned you. This time it's a prose poem. It's titled, And Yet. It's snowing again, marshmallow flakes, the kind that float to earth. Though spring is here and the days have grown longer, we still go through days and colder nights. My bed is a waiting shiver down my bones, in spite of piling it high with the wedding ring quilt, the hand crocheted throw, and wearing my thickest hand knit socks. I feel the falling degrees of night and curl into myself, ruminating on memories that are warming. In the morning, all my thoughts aim towards the fragrance of coffee brewing on schedule. I slip my feet, covered in their thick socks, into thicker slippers, made of a fabric of unknown origin, but warm. Outside, icicles are lined up like a knife shop's wares on the neighboring house eaves. I know if I look, the thermometer will set me straight. Spring, yes, but we live in a climate of still frozen days. Like the calico cat, I follow the day from window to window and hold my face up to the muted light. Below each window is a furnace grate, and if I time it right, the rush of heat will billow my nightgown, filling it and me with warmth. And yet, it's snowing again. The next poem is not weather related. We all know a storm is not just a storm here. A storm is an event, a weather event. And in the event, you expect an unexpected weather event. There is always the following option: a quick check-in with the astrology page covers all the signs. Thank you.
Vera, thank you. That was fantastic. That was a great diversity of poems. Thank you so much. And yes, you covered weather. That was awesome. Thank you so much. All right, our final poet for this evening is Ariel Gordon, who is gracious enough to have joining us from Winnipeg. Ariel Gordon is a Treaty 1 Territory, Winnipeg-based writer, editor, and enthusiast for the BSc in biology from the University of Winnipeg and a Bachelor of Journalism from Halifax University of King's College. We also found out she has connections to Sudbury and Thunder Bay, so she is no stranger to Northern Ontario. Ariel publishes in literary journals and publications such as the Winnipeg Free Press, Quill Inquirer, and Prairie Books Now. Her most recent books are Treed, Walking in Canada's Urban Forests, and Tree Talk. There you go. She is a ringleader of Rites of Spring, a National Poetry Month project in collaboration with the Winnipeg International Writers Festival and the Winnipeg Free Press. Ariel, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again for stepping in at the last moment and introducing our young poet and doing the translation for that. That was absolutely fantastic, going above and beyond. We're looking forward to hear your work.
Well, I did that if only to make my mother, who was very determined that I go into French immersion as a child, if only to make my mother happy. So her ears are burning somewhere. But I'm so glad to be here. I'm so honored to be here. I guess I wanted to say a few things about science and art, and then I'm going to read from my book, Tree Talk. Oh, sorry. My screen is mirrored, so it's not actually what I'm seeing. What I'm doing is not what I'm seeing. So that's why I'm having trouble holding things up. But I'm going to read from this book, which came out in 2020 with At Bay Press. So basically, I grew up on the intersection, or what I'd like to call the irregular cul-de-sac of science and art. My mother was a scientist, a radiation safety officer in the era when radiation was beginning to be used to treat cancers. My mom's big cocktail party anecdote was about the time she had to step into a giant crematorium with a Geiger counter, ash floating in the air, human ash, after someone who was being treated for cancer died and was prematurely cremated. And she had to go in and see if that ash was radioactive. So that was definitely, she came home from that one wide-eyed. But my mom often talked about the lack of knowledge of basic scientific principles in the general public. And she didn't have to talk about the lack of women in science, and that because that was implicit in the era when she started work. Now, I started writing when I was 13, a fantasy novel, and then later poems. So I knew I didn't want to be a scientist, but I knew I needed a job. So my idea was to be a science journalist. And so, as you heard in my introduction, I got a Bachelor of Science and then a Bachelor of Journalism and started freelancing. And it was great. But then I realized it had been 3 months or 6 months and I hadn't written a single poem or a story. And that was why I've always had jobs to finance my ruinous poetry habit, my ruinous vocation, as I like to call it. And so I gave up science journalism and became an arts administrator and a bunch of other things. But 15 years later, I began work on 2 tree-related projects that combined all of my experience and training, my BSc, my journalism training, my poetry writing skills, and my interest in urban ecosystems in the urban forest in trees. I'm going to share with you some of that, as I said, but I guess I wanted to note that I'm currently working on a SciArt collaboration, and so it's so inspiring to be here. What I'm working on is Erwin Hubner was a biologist, and he was the head of the biology department at the University of Manitoba. And what he likes to do for fun is to take micrographs, and that is photographs using a microscope. And he has photographed anything and everything in the natural world you can think of. But what we're working on is a collection where I write poetry to his photographs, his micrographs of insects, and specifically pest insects that can be found in Manitoba. And so that will be coming out in a couple of years. And it's really fun and weird to work on, because often with these micrographs, sometimes you get the whole insect, but often you just get textures, like part of a wing or part of the abdomen or the face. And so it's really disorienting in all the best ways. And what's really fun about it is that he hasn't given me any identifying names, right? So the photos are all just labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no names. I don't know which insects they are. And so I've had to do some sort of elaborate guessing in a good way, right? So it's been really generative. So, okay, for the reading. What do you need to know about Tree Talk? Well, I'll just read you the little introduction. On July 29th to 30th, 2017, I sat on the Tallest Poppies patio as part of a synonym art consultation residency, looking up into the boulevard elm and writing snippets of poems, which I hung from the boulevard tree using paper and string. Passers-by were invited to Tree Talk too. Their secrets / one-liners / meditations / haiku were also hung from the tree. By the end of the weekend, the tree had a second temporary canopy of leaves, 234 poems, 111 written by me, 107 written by passers-by, and 16 from other sources, primarily field guides. And what I'm going to do before I read is I'm going to show you, this way. I'm going to show you the illustration. So my sister, Natalie Baird, is a visual artist, and so we commissioned her to do some illustrations to go with the text, which are found throughout. And when I get to them, I'll show them to you because, visuals. So this is a polyvocal piece, and every time I'm reading something that I didn't write specifically, I'm going to put my finger up. So that's how you know I'm speaking in another voice or someone else's voice. All right, let's go. American elm, also known as white river, water, or soft elm, Ulmus americana. Saturday, July 29th, high/low, 29 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Celsius. A horizon filled with crosses, strings of lights, doors, and windows. A dead elm down the street from this tree, this perch. Telling time by the bus schedule, the number of yolks broken in the breakfast rush. The graceful, spreading crown of American elm makes this one of our most easily recognized trees, plants of the Western Boreal Forest and Aspen Parkland. How do you talk to a tree? With sentences as broad as a year, sudden storms of words, squirrels as punctuation? Old women with wheeled carts, young women with iced coffees, men with windows rolled down, the clink of ice in a glass, a motorcycle idling at the red light, his slow arc into traffic. A young Indigenous man is the first to approach. He circles the patio. Finally, he sits and stares at the tree. Spell thanks, he says, and waits. Spell mother. Spell earth. Dutch elm disease, DED, caused by the wilt fungus Ceratocystis ulmi and spread by the elm bark beetle, was introduced accidentally to North America around 1930 and was first recorded in Manitoba in 1975. Since then, Many trees have died. Plants of the Western Boreal Forest. The place where the bulldozer backed into it. The place where a chainsaw bit clumsily. Poems are made by losers like me, but only the city can plant a boulevard tree. Virgo supercluster, Milky Way, Orion Arm, Solar System, Earth, North America, Canada, Manitoba, Winnipeg, Wolseley, 103 Sherbrooke Street. Most cell phones unlocked. Wasps patrolling the middle distance. We buy gold. A truck honking across the street. The burning issues of today are the ashes of tomorrow, but a noble elm is a verity that does not change with time. Donald Culross Peaty, A Natural History of North American Trees. People approach. People circle, checking things out. They sit and stare at the tree, their pens hovering over the paper. Confess. I help people tie their snippets to the tree. The leaves sway above and below. The tree doesn't move. So many bare branches, such a full canopy. Dear tree, thanks for the shade, the leaves, and for keeping watch on us in all of our frailty, industry, doubt, and glory. I like to think about the things you must have seen. A penny whistle in a panhandler's hand. A gleaming marigold in a boulevard planter shouting, elms and haze. The tip of a cane striking the ground. The invisibility of trees. Thank you for this.
I think we might be losing Ariel from Winnipeg. Are we losing Ariel from Winnipeg?
Amy, if we have lost Ariel, why don't we give her a second to come back on?
Yeah.
And we'll get her to finish up. But in the meantime, we can jump ahead to Amanda and ask Amanda to walk us through the SciArt part of this evening. I will take a second to introduce Amanda Durkin. Dr. Amanda Durkin is a Laurentian grad, three times over. I know you did your undergrad and your PhD. I'm not sure if you did your master's in between that. She is also one of the original artists for the LU SciArt show. And I think if we have it correct, you were the student winner the first year that we did this show. Does that make sense?
I think that's what we're going with. So
that also ages you considerably, because
yes.
That means that you've done this for 10 years. And for the last 3-4 years, you were the reason that we've had this show. So you overlapped with the support from the science communication program and the graduate students there, but you have been invaluable as our volunteer to make things happen for the last couple of years. You are also going to take us through the SciArt show. Before you give the winners, I want to give one little fun story. So when I started this show 10 years ago, I said, we are open to anything, any kind of art. We will take photographs, we'll take line art, we'll take sculpture. I mean, anything short of, I don't know what, interpretive dance. And then that first year, we had this amazing interpretive dance, the circulatory system by a local school group, and it was just phenomenal. The one thing that I never thought to say was that I would expect anything in the show short of, I don't know, cake. And this year, cake was part of the show. So I don't believe that The artist actually was one of our winners, but I would say that my favorite piece, and give me the name of the artist again, you just told me, and I've already forgotten it.
Zoe, right?
Yes. So one of the pieces, my favorite piece from this year was Zoe Wright, and it was a globe made of cake. And I think that one of the exciting things about that globe made of cake is it will be changing form over the course of the show. And there is absolutely no way at the end of the show it's going to look like the cake globe that we started with. With that, Amanda, if you will take us through this year's SciArt contest, that would be lovely.
Yes, of course. So, hi everyone. I'm Amanda Durkin. I'm a Laurentian PhD alumni. I completed my PhD last year, actually, at HSNRI in Sudbury, performing immunology-based research. And now I actually work at a biotech company in Vancouver. And then on the side, I'm also a science artist. I draw anatomy-based art and sell my work through my small business. So the LUL SciArt show is definitely my favorite show each year, and I'm very happy to be helping with the organization and running of the event this year. The SciArt show challenges students, artists, and researchers alike to examine their work from new perspectives. So researchers are asked to express their ideas using artistic media, and artists are challenged to use their medium to represent scientific concepts. We aim to feature pieces that show the connection between all fields of research and art. So this year we have 5 categories: the Greater Sudbury community members, LUL students, LUL staff and faculty, elementary students, and then secondary students. So before I get into the winners, I would like to acknowledge the judges from this year who donated their time to view all of our pieces. We had Amanda Perry, a previous SciArt winner and artist in Sudbury, and Stacy Lalonde, also an amazing artist and photographer. So we're going to jump right into the winners. So for the very first category, we have the Greater Sudbury community members, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I say your name incorrectly. So the winner for this section is Isabelle Ratte with her piece called The Luminous Robot. So this is a robot that was created with engine parts, decorative objects, and plumbing materials. This automation highlights the invisible components of our daily activities. This was actually one of many pieces that was submitted by Isabelle. So definitely go check out the exhibit to see all of her other work. Congratulations, Isabelle. And for the Greater Sudbury community members, we also had a few honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention is to Ashley Young with her piece called Mycelium Power. So this is a lino cut print showing a variety of mushroom and fungi as a commentary on their communication between trees and throughout the forest floor. This piece also has a secondary adjacent piece in the exhibit. And another honorable mention to Kathy Browning with her piece Spirit Fish Deep. This is a digitally manipulated photograph that encourages the audience to view nature as interconnected and unified. These photographs are superimposed on other photographs to appear surreal, and they exemplify the spirits inherent in animals. So thank you so much to our Greater Sudbury community members, and congratulations. I'm now going to move on to the next category, which is the LUL students. So the winner for this section is Veronica Price with her piece called Deep Within. So this was created through the inspiration of a person in today's society. And this piece uses different art styles, including realism, pop art, and pointillism. This piece uses 4 sheets of hard plastic while using multiple different mediums. And the intention of this piece was to show the different layers of the human body and allow for viewers to be able to peel back the different layers of the body. And then for the LUL students category, we also had a few honorable mentions. So the first one is for Alexi Godin with her piece called Communication Behind the Scenes. So this is a painting that has been influenced by the 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and each of the cranial nerves and their region can actually be found in the painting. The second honorable mention is for Sophie Lauren with her piece called Flowering Larynx. And this is an embroidery piece of the larynx with flowers as the vocal cords. And this piece demonstrates the importance of oral communication using the voice box or larynx that some people take for granted. For our next category, we had LUL staff and faculty. So the winner for this category is Cassidy Mcauliffe with her piece called Sudbury's Warming Stripes. So this is an embroidery of the change in Sudbury's average temperature from 1950 to today, showing the overall warming trend. This piece showcases climate change and how we can prepare to build a climate resilient city for all of those who call Sudbury home. So congratulations, Cassidy. And then an honorable mention for the LUL staff category is Erica Kaden with her piece called Knitting Through Space. So these knitting pieces demonstrated certain topological concepts. So topology is specifically concerned with the properties of a geometric object that are preserved under stretching, twisting, crumpling, and bending. So here we can see a Mobius strip, a Klein bottle, and a hyperbolic plane. Next, I'm going to jump right into elementary student category. So the winner for this category is Elizabeth Caruso, who has now won in this show many times. So congratulations, Elizabeth. Her piece is called Gallery of Thoughts, which demonstrates that people experience the same situations differently. The COVID-19 pandemic made this piece explore the idea of how people organize their thoughts and really think differently. Congratulations, Elizabeth. And then for the final category, we have the secondary students. So we had lots of amazing submissions in this category, but our winner today is Oakley Forbes with their piece called Greg. So this is a pencil crayon artwork that was drawn to demonstrate the genetic similarity between chimpanzees and humans. It's amazingly intricate and detailed, and they did a wonderful job, so congratulations. Also for the secondary student category, we had a few honorable mentions. The first one is for Avery Boys with their piece called Fatherhood. So this digital art piece on the left is about the choice of pregnancy in transgender men. This artwork communicates something new but normal. This piece was created similar to existing pregnancy photos, with roses representing new beginnings and transformations. And then on the right, another honorable mention to Amon Ranger with their piece called Land Far From Home. This watercolor piece demonstrates a scene with remains of a great tree that once stood but now is just a stump. This piece shows the after effects of what old growth logging has done and is still doing, particularly in British Columbia. And that is it for the winners. I want to thank everyone who submitted this year, and congratulations to our winners and honorable mentions. The submissions of art this year were truly amazing, and they make us happy to see the community, students, and researchers creating pieces that show the interconnectedness of science and art. As you may know, this is our 10th and final year celebrating SciArt. And the thing that I love about SciArt the most is everyone's interpretation of science is different. So for me, it's anatomy, but for others, the list is truly endless, from space to nature to robots. So in my journey, it's important for me to first thank Thomas Merritt for all of his work over the last decade, bringing science art to life. As we mentioned earlier, a very long time ago now, I participated for the first time in the LUL SciArt show. And to put this into perspective, I was a very shy undergrad student who newly discovered that I could merge my two passions into one. To my surprise, I won the first year I entered with an anatomical heart piece drawn on a textbook page. Fast forward to today, where I've completed my PhD in immunology, and I run a small science art business where I share my passion of anatomy art with others. Science art has provided me with many amazing opportunities, such as teaching community members how to draw anatomically, to painting a mural last year in Sudbury. And while this is the final year of the show, I hope that all of our past participants and viewers continue to incorporate science art into their lives, because you never know where it can lead you. Thank you.
Amanda, thank you Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being part of this so long. That piece that you mentioned is right here. So this is the first piece that Amanda submitted to the show way back when. We immediately had one of the judges ask if they could buy the piece, and Amanda refused to sell it. And when she left town last year, she gifted me that piece, and that still makes me cry. So thank you for making me cry and making that amazing artwork and being part of the show. I believe that Ariel is back with us, and we're going to give Ariel an opportunity to continue with her reading. Ariel, thank you for your flexibility this evening and working with us on the schedule.
Yeah, no problem. Ooh, the internet. Okay, so I'm just going to read the previous thing that I read, and then I'll continue on. The invisibility of trees. Battered furniture set out on the curb like it was moving day. Stout pipe no one notices until it bursts. Thank you for giving us clean air. I'm sorry for what we are doing to you. I want us to be better. And here's another illustration by Natalie. I am shaded, cooled. I am canopied, in good company. I am treed. One of our finest shade trees, widely used as an ornamental tree in cities and rural areas across much of Canada. Plants of the Western Boreal Forest. This poem can be summed up in 3 words: paper plus string plus tree. A bus huffs, hunched over its wheels. A duo of white women wait, moving in and out of the dappled light. What can you use elm wood for? Do elm trees grow fast? Is elm wood a hardwood? Where does the elm tree grow? People also ask Google.com. This tree filters gleam. This tree a sun lover, a sweetie pie, a mouth breather. Dear tree, may you bring peace to this neighborhood. Sundresses, shredded fishnet stockings, Hawaiian shirts, cut-off shorts, and slashed band t-shirts, aprons and earbuds. How do you contain a tree? I can't reach all the way round, but I've tangle-footed a few lines to your trunk. I've belted you. Confession. I once spent a sweet hour cutting an entire tree into firewood, an hour perfecting my swing. The tree split. It nodded. Sawdust flew, and all of it was fed into the fire, turning my skin smoky. Secret. I don't think having murderous thoughts is a bad thing. The breeze redeems the street. The shadows deepen. I can't get over people reaching up to refoliate the tree, people bending and thinking tree instead of morning cream for my tea. Leaves and paper, wasps' nests, manuscripts, parasols, cones and flowers and seeds, napkins on the ground. Elms produce massive amounts of seed that can soon cover the ground with seedlings. This can be a problem when trees close to houses fill eaves troughs with their fruits. Plants of the Western Boreal Forest. The wind musses the leaves, pushes my hair into the corner of my eyes. The clouds are stacked high, traffic dense, and then the street empty. Secret. I fear never meeting the love of my life. I am ambulanced. I am humidified, humbled, the body's tumbling. I sit and stand corrected. I am treed. People are bashful. People eye the tree, the street, their friends. They think about what to say. Confess. I've been waiting for years for someone to poet tree. Live well. Hashtag raw health. How do you diarize a tree? A day of rest, a work week, a school night. They're all the same to a tree. The church bells pour over the treetops like maple syrup. Chimes and chimes, peals. The crows heaved into the air. Little towns that worship big elms. Donald Culross Petey. A Filipino girl writes peace and serenity, then runs for the bus, her lip quivering. A small black beetle. Something green and fleeting lands on the lens of my glasses. A leaf falls. Leaves dark green and slightly rough above, paler green below, with soft hairs. Edges double-toothed, leaf base not symmetrical, leaf veins prominent. Plants of the western boreal forest. What is there to say about a tree, besides distance and time, thick bark and waxy new leaves, the length of an afternoon, the spread of a century? Been living on this block for years. This tree is forever. I'm as slow as sap midsummer. I'm as still as a leaf in the breeze, fixed but vibrating. I oscillate like a fan. Run, 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 a mother implores, chasing the bus, both hands full. A toddler's slow fingers and a full cup of juice. The afternoon sloshes. The bus driver waits until they're settled in before drifting forward. What spirit is in the tree? Tired dryad is a traffic cop, an asphalt gargoyle. People tie drawings to the tree, tie ideas and images. People append, confess. I've heard it said that trees move through time rather than space, as we do. I am shifting like a big-headed sunflower, but away from the sun. I am shrinking like a violet. An older Indigenous man walks back and forth under the tree, his hair slicked back from his forehead. His face gleams in the heat. Cracked flagstones, buckled pavement, wounds, the bark split and healed around them, chunks of bark on the sidewalk. You have to think of trees as infrastructure, and as infrastructure, they're the only one that actually accrues value over time. Martha Barwinski, Winnipeg City Forester, as quoted in the Winnipeg Free Press. Patioed, parking metered, bus stopped, stop signed, take outed, intersectioned. I tell people, lean back, rest your eyes in the canopy, put your fingers in the bark's fissures, confess. A big old specimen will have about 1 million leaves or an acre of leaf surface and will cast a pool of shade 100 feet in diameter. Donald Culross Petey. How do you know a tree? You are 3 times as tall as me, double my age. I can't help, but maybe I won't hurt. This paper, this string. Secret. I used to think that there was such a thing as an acorn tree until I was 27. And then this is the last bit I'll read, and I'll show you the page. Another of Natalie's beautiful drawings. The breeze filters through. Billows of talk, the passage of cars, the leaves arrayed. Elm leaves decompose rapidly and are high in potassium and calcium, making American elm a soil-improving species. Plants of the Western Boreal Forest. Thank you so much for having me. I've loved reading to you.
Ariel, thank you for joining us. What a beautiful way to wrap up 10 years of science, art, and poetry. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. I want to end this evening just with a series of thank yous. I cannot thank everybody that's been part of the show. I just can't. We would not have been here without the support of Laurentian University, especially the Laurentian University Research Office. They got behind the show 10 years ago and have stayed behind the show every year since then. The Laurentian University Science Communication Program has been an incredible supporter. Their graduate students made this show happen for 4 or 5 years, and were just absolutely fantastic. Amanda Durkin has taken up the reins since then and just been amazing. And as the reason that we've had the show for the last 2 years. Her work putting this together has been amazing. Nancy Doust has taken on the Science Poetry Show from the last 2 years. Kim Fauner was a big part of starting that with me 4 or 5 years ago. It would not be here without that. Roger Nash, who was one of the early, maybe the first poet laureate, was an early supporter of the show and has just been amazing. We've had a series of students, artists, and faculty that have been part of the show, have supported the show. I can't list everybody. And finally, the partner for the last 4 or 5 years has been Science North. We went from a small show where we might have 500, 600, 700 people see the show on a really great year. And I think the first year we had 7,000 people come through the show. That has been an amazing jump for us in exposure, for artists, for the show, for art and science in Sudbury. Science North, you're fantastic. And we could not do this without you. I will miss this show every year. I have made some amazing friends. I've had some incredible experiences. The spring will not be the same without SciArt for me, but I think we're going out on a high note. Ariel, thank you so much for joining us. Vera, thank you for reading as well. That was a really fantastic way to end 10 years of SciArt. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. And I think Amy is going to give us a final farewell. Thanks, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Thomas. You know, one of the things that we love to do at Science North is to find really wonderful, creative ways where we can engage in science and in science in the world around us. And art is all around us. It's in what we see, it's in what we hear, it's in what we read. And I can't think of a better way to combine, you know, art and science together than poetry. And then, of course, with the SciArt show that we have at Science North. And so thank you, Thomas, for bringing us the SciArt show for the past number of years. We've loved hosting it. It has been a pleasure of ours to be able to partner and participate with you and Laurentian University through this process. And of course, bring on all of our community members who contribute to this show every year. So thank you, Thomas, very, very much. I do want to remind people, of course, that we do have our SciArt show that is continuing here at Science North. It does run in our special exhibits hall. It's free to the public. You can come and join us. It is on display until Sunday, April the 10th. And so please come in, come and see us, come and explore all the amazing artwork that, of course, that we talked about. It is a beautiful, beautiful show. And I think it's definitely one of our best shows that we've had and that we've hosted. The artwork is incredible, and all we saw tonight that Amanda took us through is literally just a small handful of some of the beautiful, beautiful work and beautiful pieces in there. So we're going to sign off for today. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, merci, Miigwech, and Marcy, and thank you for joining us. And of course, you can keep watching this again. This will stay on the Science North YouTube channel. If somebody has missed the show for tonight, don't worry about it. It's here for you to watch later on. And please invite people to come and see the amazing works presented by our poets. And of course, come visit us at the art show here at Science North. Thank you very much, everybody. Good evening.